Hi traders, welcome to this Blueberry Markets update with me, 𝖢𝖥𝖣yi, Senior Market Analyst. Today we'll be discussing the Australian dollar, but before we jump on the charts, let's discuss some fundamentals. Now, first on our agenda is the Reserve Bank of Australia, commonly known as the RBA. Now, speculations have intensified recently, forecasting a rate hike from the current 4.1% to 4.35% in tomorrow's meeting. The RBA is using rate hikes to fight inflation. And speaking of inflation, it's crucial to highlight that the inflation rate in Australia currently stands at a high 6%. While inflation can be a sign of a growing economy, when it's significantly above the target range, it can erode the purchasing power of consumers. For the average Australian, this means your dollar doesn't stretch as far as it used to, leading to potential cutbacks in spending or a shift in buying patterns. Now, high inflation combined with a possible rate hike can have mixed effects on various sectors of the economy. For example, the housing market might experience a slowdown as borrowing becomes more expensive. However, for savers and those with interest-bearing accounts, it could mean slightly better returns. Now, let's head over to the Australian dollar versus the US dollar chart and let's break down some of them technicals. Welcome back to the charts, traders. So you can see I've got the Australian dollar versus the US dollar up on my screen here. We are looking to see what will happen to the price going into tomorrow's meeting. RBA forecast to hike interest rates by 25 basis points. So you can see actually the Australian dollar's had a good start to the week, considering the fact that we are at the end of the month as well. We would typically expect the market to have some kind of sideways movement at this time of the month, and it'd be safe to say that during this kind of period that we're coming into as well, the holiday period, it could be a time where we see very, very high sort of volatility, low volumes in the market. So it can be very difficult trading conditions coming up. So I just want to share that information with you. Now, the market at the moment is rallying to the upside. However, if we go down into this 4-hour time frame, we can see that the market is telling a little bit of a different story. So last week we had a strong weekly bearish close. We can see that the market is making these 4-hour lower lows, lower highs. Now, in recent live streams, we've been talking about the potential for the Australian dollar to actually gain some strength due to the fact of this upcoming meeting where the RBA were likely to hike interest rates. The problem with that is we've had the balance of the US dollar. Now, the US dollar rallied last week. Really good GDP figures came out, pushed Australian dollar prices to the downside, and you can see we're now coming back into an area of resistance. So we've got the prior lows coming in here at the 0.6720. We've also got this level up here around about the 6800. Now, what we might get is one or two different things depending on the outcome of the rate decision and the statement. So if the statement talks about more aggressive hikes to come, then we may see the Australian dollar versus the US dollar head towards that 0.68 handle and maybe even break out towards the upside if it's really positive news. If, however, this is a sort of rate decision that's going to be very much like what we're seeing out of the Federal Reserve, where it's going to be played by month, and that this may just be one more hike before we see a pause or even start to see a slowdown. And the Australian dollar might start rejecting in and around these lows in here, and we may start to see price push back to the downside. I think if we did start to move lower, these lows here at the 66.30 are going to be quite important. And we also have the 0.6575 handle in contention, which is this zone that formed through here. Now, if I just go to the daily chart, you can see it's all this type of lows that have just formed on this daily chart through there. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this one plays out at the moment. If we kind of take a look and step back again to that weekly chart, we are technically in a bit of a messy range here. So we could see it strengthen. If it does, you may want to look across weaker currencies to try and see if there's any kind of opportunity there. We did discuss the potential for the market to move higher against the Japanese yen. Aussie yen reacting from the 92.60 handle at the moment. key highs coming in at around about the 97.50. So that's a option for a market if you're looking for a strong versus weak currency. If we get the weakness, then you may want to consider a different type of currency. So for instance, the pound at the moment is also gaining some strength. That's because the Bank of England announcement's coming up this week as well. So hopefully that gives you some different ideas. Hopefully you enjoyed this type of video, this format of video. Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll speak to you in the next video.